Yeah, again, I think, the one guy I want to speak about that played, I thought, really, really well in the game was Jay. You talk about, UCLA.
I don't know what I'm talking about, though, right, chat? Oh, comments. I don't know what I'm talking about, though, right? So apparently, Coach Schotty was talking a little spicy today. Let's go ahead and take a listen, as I'm very interested to see what his feedback is going to be after now 2 preseason games for the Dallas Cowboys. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to leave a like on the video as well. Let's get right into it. Man, shut your up. All right, now that y'all finished that list of chores I just gave y'all, let's get right into the video in 1.25 times speed. As always, gotta get this thing a little bit quicker.
Any secrets on there? No secrets.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Could be a Waffle House menu.
He's allowed. Yeah, it's gonna be a Waffle House menu too. Everything gets caught on camera now. I love Waffle House.
Okay, Calvin.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. What progression have you seen from your team from the first preseason game to what happened over the weekend?
I'd tell you what, I think when I looked at this game, we went back and we looked at it, the biggest thing I would say, we didn't control the ball. I mean, time of possession was a major problem. We shared that with them this morning. I mean, 40 minutes to 20 minutes is a big difference. So then you have to dive in even deeper. You look at the third downs and fourth downs conversions. I think Baltimore converted 50%. They were like 9 of 18. We only converted 2 of 13, 15%. But the hidden message in that is it's not just that we stink on third down or fourth down. It's that, on defense, I think 4 of their 8 or 9 conversions were third and 2 or less. And we had 7 of our 13, if I'm remembering correctly, were 7 or more, and we only converted 1 of 8. So what do I mean by that? I mean by that is that we did a poor job, playing ahead of the sticks. We need to win first and second down. I know in the passing game on defense, we gave up some easy completions, and they kind of got ahead of the sticks on us a little bit, which put them in favorable third down situations. And then our inability to kind of run the football hurt our ability to kind of play ahead of the sticks. So we just, we forced too many third downs on offense long, and that's a big part of it. That's how you look at a number, and it's that lopsided. And so the other couple things I would say is the complementary football wasn't there. It needs to be there. I think we Brandon Aubrey kicked awesome in this game. All the kicks, he converted them all. His directional kicks on the kickoff were great. Shoot, the very first play of the game, he pins them back. It's a touchback, because it lands in the landing zone, and defense goes 4 and out. They give up the deep cross, and then they get them to punt, and we, take the ball, and then we end up making them punt again because we wanted to get a chance to see Crop return, and then we have a penalty. And then it just, when you look at the sudden change of events, like then, we get the safety, and then, I think, we get the turnover on defense. Defense did a great job creating 2 turnovers, and, our very first play out, we throw an interception. So the sudden change that we talked about, the operation was good in terms of the mechanics of how we want to handle it and the communication, but the execution wasn't really there. So I think the biggest thing that I would say, to answer your question, is the consistency wasn't there. And I talked to the guys about it this morning. I said, at the end of the day, when one of your main 4 pillars that you believe in is physicality, I thought the physical nature that we played with was not good enough. It was inconsistent. Does that mean that we weren't physical at all? No. It means that there were some guys that were very physical. Princeton Fant was very, very physical. I thought James Houston was very physical. Yeah. But as a football team as a whole, we weren't physical enough. And that's coaches and players and all of us together.
You feel you have enough time to kind of fix that before fill it out?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is going to be another great week of practice. We got a couple fun days of practice, and there'll be padded practices in front of the fans and indoors and all that stuff. But again, I think very, very clearly, I said to the guys, we don't look at this at, oh, hey, look, this is just a preseason game. It doesn't matter. I've never said that. I would never say that. It does matter. Every time we get a chance to go out and compete, you compete to win. But at the end of the day, we are trying things, and we are not showing things, and we are in the evaluation business. We're trying to evaluate players doing scheme, simple scheme. But when we go to compete.
Told y'all, bruh. I told y'all that's exactly what the hell he looking at, bruh. But of course, as a coach, you're not going to ever want your team to get comfortable with losing, right? Or to get comfortable with performing less than what the standard is. I don't think that he necessarily would care about the end result as far as wins and losses in a preseason game, but I'm sure he cares about what it looks like en route to that win or loss, regardless of what it is, right? And that's more so what he's evaluating. That's what he's looking at, and that's what he cares about. And that's why he's saying it's not necessarily meaningless, because it does mean a lot for a lot of these guys on his roster. His preseason does mean a lot, it's not necessarily meaningless, and it's not that the preseason games don't mean anything in the sense of there's no value to be gained, but they don't mean anything in the sense of, man, sitting here keeping track of stats, keeping track of wins and losses. That's a little bit ridiculous. Remember, we would keep his track of stats with Deuce Vaughn, and he went crazy a couple preseasons ago. And what is that translated to, bro? And I'm not trying to pick on Deuce or anything. That's just an example Cowboys fans can relate to. But let's get back into it.
We want to compete to win.
Can you give a Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys?
Thank you for clarifying. I wasn't sure. Well, I was speaking to. I wasn't. Thank you for saying that.
I'm trying to follow Tad's rules.
Okay, that's good.
Can you give us an update on Jonathan Mingo? I know you had the MRI yesterday. How long was he out? What's the
Hey,
injury?
Schotty is a little. Schotty do look like he done seen a couple things that people been kind of tweeting out there. Because, man, these reporters do be kind of, man, they kind of trying to needle a little bit and trying to reach to get something to criticize at times. So that's funny.
Again, I think, we really have a few more tests that we have to run. We're not really sure yet. I don't think it's going to be terribly serious, but I think we got to get through a few more tests just to make sure. But wow, what a great catch. It was so great to see him, Clarence step up and make that big play down the boundary on 3rd and long. That was one of the 3rd downs that we did convert. But we need to do a little bit more testing to figure that out.
And I know it's not just a preseason, but also the starters aren't playing. You don't have Dak out there and some of the frontline guys, but it's still a reflection of what you've done and how you balance, how you prepare the team again. How do you balance the not being physical enough and not running the ball? The pillars that you wanted to do and you've talked about doing, even though Javonte Williams, Dak, and some of the guys aren't there.
Yeah, well, I think you pointed out to the guys. You pointed out to the guys and you say, look, Cooper Beebe played some snaps. Tyler Booker played some snaps. We should have run the ball better in that game, and we didn't. And that falls on all of us. It falls on me as the play caller. It falls on the offensive staff. We did some things that were better. We challenged the guys last week to tackle better, and I thought we tackled really, really well. We call it hamstring tackle. We talk about knocking guys back and creating a cup and running your feet through 3 yards of contact.
That's a great point. The tackling did look better this week. We don't talk about the things that do improve, though. That's a great point.
We did that better. My big belief is whether you win, you lose, when you compete, you have to point out. So we do a thing, good, better, how, and the process never changes. Whether you win, whether you lose, the process doesn't change. And so today I stood up there and I talked about the things we did well, which there was a number of those things. Talked about the things that we need to do better. There was probably a few more of those that we needed to get cleaned up, and then how we're going to do it. And what we said is we're going to have 2 days of very physical practices, and also at the same time, we're going to do a little bit more 1st and 2nd down work, because I think really that's kind of where the game got away from us. Clarence, when you look at it, was we got soft in the D gap in some of our run fits. And then offense again, the lack of completions and running the football effectively put us behind the stick.
And for those of y'all watching, if you hear D gap, that usually means outside containment, right? That's edge rushers or safeties. That's or a nickel or something. That's what that is.
Real quickly, you want to do 2 days of physical practices. Obviously, in here on the turf, you've been outside. How does that being on the turf impact your plan of being physical? And I know the guys were older, but you had 2 major injuries come out when they came back from camp on turf the last couple of years.
Yeah, again, you're aware of it. It's part of the game. Obviously, you never want to think that way, but we have work to get done. We know that.
What the feezy? Come on, man. Like, what is he supposed to say? What answer he supposed to give you on that? Oh yeah, we about to let them practice in a big bubble balloon, so that way that they don't have to put their feet on the turf. Or like, what is it? What are they supposed to do? These guys got to practice on whatever the facility allows them to practice on. Like, I don't understand that one. I don't understand that.
Our players know that, and again, if we were worried about injuries, you could worry about that every day. And so again, let's go have some competitive practice. Let's fly around a little bit. Let's get better, and hopefully play better against Atlanta.
Frank Potter with ESPN. Now that you guys are back here, has anything changed on Micah's status if he'll practice or if he'll do more than what he did out in Oxnard?
Yeah, again, I don't expect there to be many changes. We'll see. Again, it was good to have all the guys back. I think what we're excited about, Todd, is get back into the routine. I know I'm excited to be back here. A little bit more of a routine. I kind of know where everything is. It's comfortable, and I think the biggest thing is just we've got a couple days to figure out this routine as we're getting back into it. We'll still be a little bit in training camp mode. Schedule's adjusted a little bit, the next 2 days because of the night practices. But as far as Mike is concerned, I don't think there'll be many changes.
And then you talked about it's an evaluation period and the 7-iron stuff. If you don't take the driver out on the range, how do you know if you're going to hit the driver well in the course?
Well, you have to evaluate how you do in some of your practice rounds, and you look at the practices we've had against the defense, and I think we've got all of the offseason program to look at, OTAs. You've got all of the training camp practices to look at, and again, it's a philosophy, and you can agree or disagree with it. I saw the Giants the other night, and they were running all kinds of different things, and that's great. Good for them. That's what they believe in. Dave's a hell of a coach, but that's their philosophy. Our philosophy is let's see these guys compete. Let's see these guys do simple better.
Yo, he pretty much just let y'all know, bruh. Look, y'all not about to keep questioning me and thinking that these questions gonna make me change how I'm doing stuff. At some point, I'm about to let you know, bruh, it's my damn decision. It's my philosophy. He pretty much just let you know, I'm the head coach. I am the captain of this ship now, and don't question me no more, if I throw you over the boat. That's what he just told they ass. That is hilarious. Come on.
And we haven't done it well enough, and that's okay. And I'll stand up here and own that. I've never said that, oh, yeah, we're in a great spot, but I'm also not concerned. We're going through the process, and we're competing every day, and we've got a chance to do that a couple more times before we have to make some really difficult decisions.
He ain't concerned,
Jeff Schroeder, The Athletic. Do you have any update on Jaden Blue?
He got the most to lose. If he ain't concerned, I ain't concerned. He got the most to lose. And Schotty ain't about to Mike McCarthy us and this. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And the building's burning up behind him. He gonna keep it real, as I'm pretty sure we're about to hear in this press conference.
If he'll be able to do anything this week.
Yeah, trending positively. Again, we'll see how he does today and tomorrow.
Why some of y'all looking for reasons to not like the guy? Y'all looking for reasons to doubt him, or y'all looking for reasons to like pre-count him out? I don't understand that process. It's like y'all are waiting for reasons for him to make you not want to believe in him. And it's like, bro, if the man has already convinced you, if you already have liked the things that you've heard and seen so far, then just let it be that. Quit trying to look for reasons for you to take it back and be like, never mind, I don't like Schotty. He got to prove it to me. To you for what? Man, if your ass don't sit your ass down somewhere and be a fan.
Well, hopeful that he can get out there and play. But, again, I'll get some more updates to see how they did this morning with some of the workouts and stuff that they were doing. But I'm optimistic and hopeful that he plays.
And then having 4 weeks out in California, 2 preseason games now, when you look at defensive tackle, just what are your views on what you guys have in that position?
Yeah, again, I think, the one guy I want to speak about that played, I thought, really, really well in the game was Jay. You talk about, UCLA.
I don't know what I'm talking about, though, right, chat? Oh, comments. I don't know what I'm talking about, though, right? I'm sure somebody's going to release a video out there trying to prove me wrong again. And, he's a liar. Jay Toia isn't playing well. The head coach of the team just let y'all know. He's pointing them out. Everybody on the defensive line. Jay Toia is flashing more than anybody else, maybe outside of Perion Winfrey. Perion Winfrey is flashing as well on the inside D-line. But those two fellas right there are flashing the most. And then you throw James Houston as far as like the outside edge rushers that are flashing. I think Houston is probably flashing the most out of the edge rushers. Obviously, Ezzy, when he's out there, he's getting penetration, but I think he's still trying to get his sea legs under him and kind of figure out how to get home in the NFL, right? But I told you, am I a liar? Am I still a liar? Am I still a liar? Where we at this video? 12 minutes? I got to remember this because I'm about to clip this and put it at the beginning. Oh, am I a liar still? I'm just wondering, bro. I'm just wondering.
He's figuring out the attack front. He's a large man that played really, really well. Again, we're getting a good evaluation. I thought, Ernest Brown played really, really well. In general, I think that's a spot that we're always going to be mindful of. When you play simple fronts and teams know you're going to line up in a simple front, you're going to have to play much more disciplined in your fits. And I do think our run fits from the linebackers this game were better. And so I think that did help us hold up a little bit and build the wall, per se, against the run. But overall,
told y'all.
I thought a couple young guys really stepped up in the defensive tackle.
I don't know football, but if you go back and you listen to my breakdown of what I seen after I watched the film, if you listen to my breakdown with the Jay Toia thing from earlier this morning, bruh, Schotty just said damn near everything that I was saying, bro.
A room, and of course, Osa and Sally and those guys aren't playing right now.
Nick Harris, 4-star Telegram. We just got done talking to Tyler. I know there's no timeline.
Take a shot at the phone. You better not miss.
Doing great. I think he feels great. I think he's excited. I think he's confident about his ability to continue to make big strides. And whatever we are, 17 days or whatever from opening day, I think he's going to attack each day. And but I'm proud of him, because he's a young player dealing with something that there's different timetables that you think, okay, it might be this, it might be that, but he's beating every mark so far. So that's a great sign.
And then ahead of these decisions you have to make next week, when it comes to roster numbers, do you have a specific philosophy you try to stick to as far as, like, for example, we want to carry 6 receivers, or is it more so
good question,
basis?
No, it's definitely year by year. I mean, you've got general numbers, when you're looking at things. Okay, is it 5? Is it 6 receivers? Is it 5 linebackers? How many defensive linemen combined? Defensive.
That was a great investigative question from a reporter, because that kind of question will actually lend you to information that you probably don't know yet. I like
Ends
that
D
question.
tackles. Those conversations have really been ongoing throughout the entire training camp process. We talked a little bit yesterday about it with ownership, Jerry, Steven, myself, Will, coordinators. But again, it's too early to tell because there's going to be some guys that in this game show that they deserve a spot on this team, and then you have to find a way to make that happen. And there's always injuries that play themselves into it as well. But it's a fluid thing for sure.
Follow to that, you kind of answered it, but when you're going into that decision on next Tuesday, do you have the numbers ahead of time, or is that part of the conversation too?
Y'all notice he said nothing about Mazi, right? I'm just asking.
You've got projections of where you think you're going to be. I mean, I obviously won't share it with you guys, but we have the projection of what we think it's going to be, but it certainly can move, and you have to be ready to pivot if it does change or adjust based on this week's practices and or the game against Atlanta.
Okay.
Hey, Coach Patrick Walker, Cowboys.com. Quick question for both sides of the ball. Tyler Booker makes his preseason debut for you guys. Did well in run protection. You guys ran play behind him several times. Didn't allow any quarterback pressure. Just talk about what you saw from the rookie in this first outing.
Yeah, I did really well. Plays with length, plays with power. Really good communicator with what he sees when he comes off the field, Patrick, based on adjustments and different fronts and things that they were playing. But the biggest thing I would say is we weren't surprised with the run blocking, but some of the pass protection, his hand usage and his length was very exciting. And he's a guy that he gives you everything he's got every day in and out of practice. And it was good to see him in there moving around and doing some great things.
Kind of on the other side of that spectrum, Mazi Smith said something very interesting. He took very high accountability in saying that he needs to do, quote unquote, something through the remainder of the preseason and going into the season.
Mazi question.
Where, as a coach, do you attack that as far as coaching him up through the mental aspect of it and as a means of trying to help him physically get to where he needs to get?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great point. And I love our players taking accountability. I mean, if they learn one thing from the way we lead as coaches is we should take accountability. I mean, Clayton stood up in front of the offense today and talked about one of the runs we had. We should have had a kill critique on there. We didn't, and that falls on us as a coaching staff. And Clayton, took that. But there's a first run of the game actually, where Miles Sanders said, "Hey, that's my bad. I need to press that hole to help BB out." But getting back to your question. I love that Mazi's saying that. Mazi did some good things. He did. There was a play I showed to the group today where it was a gap scheme, and Patrick, he kind of shot up the field, played attack front, and kind of fish hooked the defense, the center blocking back, and then T-Wheat looped around. It's the consistency thing.
Yep, and that was the play that Mazi lost his feet. That was the play. Yep, that was the exact play that I said that was probably one good play that I remember from Mazi. But he couldn't even put himself in position to finish that play because he lost his feet. But it was a good play because I think he was in the 3-tech, and he did penetrate. He did get to the quarterback, and the quarterback, I think, got hit by Tyrus Wheat, and it caused an incompletion, right? So it was kind of like a double pressure, and that was a good play, bruh. But the problem is that type of stuff happens, and then nothing for far too long, bruh, for far too long. Let me go back a little bit, make sure we won't miss nothing.
Go to the group today where it was a gap scheme, and Patrick, he kind of shot up the field, played attack
exactly
front, and kind of fish hooked the defense, the center blocking back, and then T-Wheat looped around. It's the consistency thing.
I might try to
what I've learned in my time is, when you're a first-round draft pick or you're a high-paid free agent, there's pressure and things that comes with that. And not that Mazi feels that pressure, but Mazi wants to do great, and Mazi wants to be a great player, and Mazi can. But what he has to do is he's got to be more consistent. And that great play that I just described, where he's getting a second step in the dirt and he's fish hooking the center and he's basically destroying the line of scrimmage and allowing T-Wheat to come on, that's got to be the standard. Not the, okay, I did that, and then for 2 plays I'm kind of not holding the point as strong as I need to. But when you tell me things like that,
bro, what did I say, bruh? What did I say? It's not about not being able to find any good plays from Mazi. He's a professional. You will be able to find a handful of good plays from Mazi from game to game. Maybe not game to game, not with Mazi. Maybe a couple of games out the season, you'll be able to find a handful of good plays out that game. But it happens too far and few between, bruh. And obviously anything Schotty's saying, anything negative, he's going to downplay it. Anything positive, he's going to put as much attention on as possible because he's the head coach and he's fighting for those guys in that locker room. That's what you got to kind of, I guess, be able to translate when you're listening to these press conferences, is understanding the platform that they're coming from. Schotty is going to be speaking from a platform because of the position he holds, that while, yes, he will be honest with us, anything negative, he's going to not necessarily downplay, but he's going to make sure it doesn't sting as much. Make sure it's not as much of a vicious bite. He ain't going to be Jerry up there just shooting from the hill. Bah, 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 bah. I don't care how anybody feels. Bah, bah, bah. He can't do that because he's in that locker room with them players. Anything positive, he's going to try to highlight as much as possible. Now, he was as honest as possible here. He gave an actual play that I also said when in my video earlier, that was the one play I would look at Mazi and say, hey, man, he made that play. But there was too many other plays where it was like, hey, man, where did you go? Where did you go? All right, here we go.
That means that that gets me excited because he understands that we're all in this thing together and we need everybody.
And we want the best
Joe
for
White, Dallas Morning
Mazi. But
News. James Houston was a guy that came in on a tryout basis right before camp, had 2 QB hits. What have you just kind of seen from James Houston in his time here and what he's been able to put on tape?
Joe, we see it every day in practice. The guy's a excellent pass rusher. I saw the Rams change their protection scheme against him in the scrimmage, just to take account of it. I mean, when you have a first step and the quickness and speed that he does, it's just a problem. I think that's where, you're learning matchups and, okay, who does that guy match up well against? And there's different ways you want to rush a tackle. Do you want to, run around the guy with speed or you want to try to run through him based on size and matchup and things like that? But the pass rush jumps off the film. You can see that. But what I'm pleased about is how he's doing on special teams. He almost blocked the punt the other day. I think he got a holding call potentially on them, one of these 2 games. But the guy's doing it on really both sides. He's doing it on special teams and on defense. And so that's been exciting to see.
Still a week from cut down day, but obviously you're a guy that prioritizes relationships with players and getting to know them. And obviously it's a business, but how have you kind of prepared for the idea of potentially ending some of these relationships in the meantime and going through the cut down process with these guys?
Well, I mean, it is part of the deal, but I think number one, we've had to make some tough decisions already. We've already had to let some guys go. It's never a fun thing to do. I think you owe them the respect to handle it like a man and to be upfront and honest, and that's what I try to do. I think if you ask anybody that's been told by me that they were moving on, they would tell you I'm very upfront and honest about my opinion. And hey, do we have visions of bringing you back? Do we not? Hey, what can you get better? I think you have to leave them with true feedback. And it's an uncomfortable thing to do. Nobody likes to have those conversations. The player doesn't like to have it. We don't like to have it, but it's part of this business. And so I wouldn't say that it's something we take lightly. I would say it's something that you actually put a lot of thought and effort into. And you say, okay, hey, here's the story. Here's why. Here's what's going on. Here's what I would tell you did really, really well. Here's what you need to improve on. Hey, have people call me. I will sing your praises as a man. I will sing your praises as why it didn't work and it worked out because of numbers or an injury or whatever it was. But we owe those guys that. But I think where I would push back is some people don't want that relationship because they just don't want to have it get messy. I'm not that way. I want to care about these guys for the rest of my life, whether they're on our team or not. If I have a relationship with them, I want to care about them and at some point see them 15 years from now on a sideline or at a game and maybe meet their kids.
Babe Loffberg, 105.3, The Fan. I have 2 questions. The first one would be usually a walk-off, but we don't do a walk-off. But Joe Milton flips the ball as he's dropping back. So I
good quarterback question. Yeah, good quarterback question.
Is that something you're trying to break that habit, or do you not care?
I really don't care. It's a relaxed thing, as you know. Some guys, that's how they relax. Some guys are trying to find the laces, as you know. The biggest thing I would say is you're coaching the ball carriage part of it. That the ball carriage is, I was
about to say that was a great quarterback question because with Joe, it is noticeable. That was something that I was like, is he fumbling the ball? I was like, is he losing control? Because it does look like it's like if anybody were to touch him or if he has to rush his steps in a little bit, it looked like he could drop that mud like a hot potato. So that was a good question.
Numbers high, kind of close to your body, but if he flips it, I remember, Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't hold the laces, and that blew my mind. I was like, how do you not hold the laces? But he had big hands. But no, in reality, it's one of those deals where I think when he's dropping, he's trying to get comfortable, he's trying to find the grip, and that's what he does. It doesn't bother me.
Okay. Is he starting on Friday? Is he going to be starting?
Yes. Yes.
Good answer.
Yeah, good answer. Dak is not playing.
Why not?
Say again?
Why not Will Greer?
Because Joe Milton's a guy we want to find out more about.
Exactly.
Trying to jump in?
Hey, Schotty.
Sure.
Hey, Schotty feel like is it me or Schotty answers feel a little short towards Clarence Hill? It's like Schotty kind of looking at Clarence Hill like you like to stir up mess a little bit. I don't know. His answer's a little bit short.
You don't have to ask him. You can ask me.
We had this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Can you just talk about, you want to find out more about him. You're also trying to find a backup quarterback, and certainly Joe is getting way more opportunities than Will. Does that indicate that he's in the lead? Or how does Will compete in a sense?
Again, Will gets opportunities to compete different ways. He gets opportunities to compete in practice. He gets opportunities when he gets his chance to play in games. We compete a lot of different ways. You can compete in meetings. And again, I think I've been very clear. We're not naming a backup right now. But the guy that I feel like we don't have as much information on is Joe Milton. I feel like we have more information on Will. And part of our job,
And I want to say this because I know there's people I respect that feel the same way about that. Like, hey, Joe Milton is making it hard to evaluate other guys. That's more so the reason why they're like put Will Grier in. But I'm gonna be honest, bro. Will Grier didn't do much better when he came into the game for Joe on against the Ravens. And if you look at it from an organizational standpoint, do y'all really believe that Will Grier has the opportunity to be even the bridge quarterback in Dallas? Like, let's say Dak plays out his contract and he ends up retiring at the end of his deal. Do y'all really think that Will Grier is going to be here and play for another 2 or 3 seasons until they get another young guy in here and get him ready to take over as the new franchise QB? I don't think Will Grier is even in that conversation. They're not looking at him like that. They're looking at him as almost like a body to make sure they fit the numbers, right? Joe Milton, he has enough workable traits that I think they're really trying to figure out if he's teachable. They're trying to figure out if his issues can be fixed with playing more football. Because y'all got to remember, he only played 100 more snaps than Trey Lance. And remember, Trey Lance played 1 year of senior ball in high school. He played 1 year of ball in college. So Trey Lance had very limited experience as well. So I think they're looking at Joe Milton almost like, hey, is this an experience issue? Is he going to get better feel? Is the game going to slow down? Is he going to get better with his reads? Is he going to look at his cues? Is he going to get the mental aspect of the game down so that way he can utilize those physical tools the right way? I think they're trying to figure that out so that way they can figure out if Joe Milton will be that bridge guy. Because I don't think by any means he's the next franchise QB, but could he be a bridge QB that plays here for his age 29, 30, 31 seasons or something until a young rookie is really ready to take over? Could be. But I think they're trying to see that, because if they don't get that answer, what y'all got to realize is Joe, he only got 2 more years under contract. So what that means is outside of this season. So what that means is they're going to have to make a decision on whether they need to draft another young guy and let him learn behind Dak and get him ready, or is Joe the guy that they can do that with, and do they have more time? I understand why Schotty's trying to give him as many reps as possible, because the preseason is the place to do it. The games don't matter as much. So why not?
I'm learning, like I said, in the first 2 games, and I feel the same way now. I'm learning Joe. I'm learning how you would call a game with Joe as your quarterback. I think that's a big part of it. You know, you're going to call a game with Geno Smith different than you do Russell Wilson. You're going to call a game with, I'll make up Mark Sanchez different than you do Mark Brunell. You know, and so we're trying to figure that out. But we've also been very upfront with Will, and because I think that's important. You know, hey, Will, here's the deal. Joe's getting the majority of the reps. When you get in there, maximize your opportunities. And not one time, as Will said, hey, Schotty, I don't think that's fair. Why? Because we're upfront and honest, and we're very direct about why we're doing it. It's not that we want Joe to win the job or we don't want Will to win the job. It's like, hey, we need to figure out more about Joe and how he's going to perform.
You say you know about Will, but Will does not have a lot of in-game experience himself. So,
but Will, we know what he is. Will Grier is not a bridge QB. He doesn't have any noticeable. He's essentially, if you try to, I think the most Will Grier can turn into is Cooper Rush. And it's not to disrespect Will Grier, but come on, man. What are we talking about? Joe Milton at least has traits that you can look at and be like, hey, those are potential starting quarterback traits. Why are we trying to make this Will Grier and Joe Milton thing a thing, bruh? It's not like Will Grier about to come out there and set the world on fire and guys got 200 yards receiving. We seen how he looked. He went 1 for 5 against the Ravens. And a couple of those throws were his bad, bro. A couple of times, actually, you can look at the plays, bro. He missed reads, just like Joe did. So let's cut it out. Why are we making these type of things a big deal, bro? This micro-analysis is crazy.
I mean, how do you know what he can do in games? You know, and it's hard to project all of that. Not seen him play. You know, he's been there a while, but he hasn't played a lot. He hasn't played a lot of football.
No, but we've been around him. We've seen the decision making. We've seen some of the throws. I think we know his strengths and weaknesses. Part of it when you go into a game is you know strengths and weaknesses. And you know, I want to see, I want to see Joe. You know, after a tough start. And he bounced back against the Rams, and he was a little more inconsistent this week than he was against the Rams, and so I think that that's important. But again, you can learn a lot from practice as well. And Will being around and their scout, I remember this, and you guys will probably be bored by this, but one of the coolest things as a young coach, I was quality control coach. This would have been in 1998, and starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs was Elvis Gerbach. The backup was a young man by the name of Rich Gannon, and he was a backup, journeyman. Nobody wanted him. And I never forget, I was running the scout team blitz cards, and there was one period in practice that Rich Gannon refused to let Pat Barnes take. Pat was the third. That's when you carry 3. And that was the third down blitz period. And I asked Rich, I said, why? Like, because he let Pat Barnes take all of them. Other than that, he's like, because that's the closest thing that I can get to a game rep. Because it's the things moving the fastest. I have to do the most. I have to be on my, on my instincts and my hots and things like that. And that really stuck with me because it shows you can get some really great work running the scout team. And in today's day and age, that's how quarterbacks have to develop, because there's not necessarily great spring leagues and things like that we can send these guys to. And it worked out pretty good for Rich.
I better start using
Rich was a young quarterback, and you were around. Why didn't it work out with him?
Yeah. Again, I won't say that it didn't work out. I think maybe it didn't work out for him here, but sounds like he's doing a nice job with the Chargers. And I think, Trey, the longer he's around, the one thing it's been fun for me, and I don't see many highlights of other teams, but I did see him running around and making some plays. I think Trey, like Cooper Rush, is beginning to figure out who he is as a quarterback. And that's part of it, man. You got to figure out, okay, what do I do well? Like, you guys asked me about the game after the game about Cooper. Like, I wasn't surprised at what Coop did, checking the ball down, being on top of his hots and things like that. But to Trey's question is, I think he's figuring himself out. Hey, this is what I do really, really well. Let me lean on that. And that's hard for some of these young guys to figure out sometimes early on.
Tommy R. Stuff, Cowboys.com. You're telling us after the game Saturday that the new and younger guys typically try to get 10, 15 snaps. Does that change in the last game of the preseason? You maybe bump it up, or is that kind of your sweet spot for players like Kyrie and Jack Sanford?
Yeah, this game will be a little bit different. We haven't finalized the play time yet. Again, I want to get through these next couple practices. I want to get through tomorrow's padded work and then the next day's padded work. And I would say that, the numbers are always flexible. And if we get the right work in, then you might see a little less guys play. And if we don't get the right work in, then you'll probably see a few more guys play. But at the end of the day, I want these next two practices to be ass kickers.
All right. So, obviously, the interesting thing about the strategy that Schotty's using for how he's playing guys in preseason is anybody we see that doesn't get a whole lot of snaps is one of two things. Either their position on the roster solidified, which is essentially the first thing that I would probably go to, or they're really just playing super, super bad. And obviously you be able to judge it off of your eyes. But if you see a guy playing a lot, I think that probably means that he's either entrenched in the position battle that they're trying to decide using that last game, or he's fighting for a roster spot. That's what that means. That's what the advantage of not playing any of your starters is, and you kind of starting off with the second and third string guys in there is – depending on how much play time you get, you can almost kind of predict what the roster cuts will be.
Nicole Hutchinson, Dallas Cowboys TV. A guy that stood out is Zion Childress, from camp.
Zion!
Game, and he's someone that, has been effective in the run game, tackling well. What's something that has impressed you the most? Because a play that stood out to me was the pick six, even though it kind of gets overlooked. He got through on a corner blitz, free corner blitz, and then you see Andrew Ruth, of course, take it to the house. But just what have you seen from him in terms of his growth, his confidence level, and where does he kind of stack up in this nickel cornerback battle?
Well, it's a battle for sure, because I think, you ask about Zion, and I'll certainly answer that. I think Keemon Hall played really, really well. You guys know we have the flexibility to move around, and we certainly can do that. But what I would say from Zion is, it's, again, I say this all the time, so I'll just say the word instincts. That's great. He's a very, very good blitzer. He's a very good run defender. Where he got a little bit turned around was in some of the pass coverage stuff. He had some dirty eyes. We call it dirty eyes, where you're trying to look back and see what the quarterback's doing. So he got turned around on a couple things. But the instincts, the physicality.
And you can kind of see those moments. When you're watching them on tape, you can probably see those moments, even though it's like a really far view. You can see those moments on tape because he'll violently flip his hips and try to get back in position on the receiver, and that lets you know that his attention was probably elsewhere, bro. Because I noticed that a couple times too. I was like, why was that transition so rough? Like, he was like almost rushing to hurt and flip his hips so he could try to keep tracking with the receiver, bro. But he had a couple of really good plays even in coverage, though.
That he plays with, and he just throws his body around. I mean, and that was something that you did see on the film from Kentucky when you studied him.
To see out of him on Saturday.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I'd say the same thing. Continue to do the things you've been doing, and when you blitz and try to get home or at least affect the passer. When you got to fill the B gap. There was a really cool play where they were running a little duo play to the defense's left, and Donovan set the edge. Ezra set the edge, and he kind of disengaged, and then Zion was fitting the B gap, and the two of them had a really cool compression tackle, and it was cool to see two young guys just kind of meet for a TFL, and it was kind of fun to watch those two guys, because Donovan, about 5 plays before that, jumped around a gap, and the ball got through in the C gap, and White Cotton pulled him out and had a little talking to him, and he went in the very next play and did a hell of a job, set the edge, and made a play. So you're constantly teaching these young guys, but the consistency level is important.
Dallas. It's been about a month since you all arrived at training camp. For you personally, you've waited a long time for this opportunity. How has it gone for you to this point? Has it been what you expected as a head coach? I know off-season aside, but as you're into the in-season part of it? Has it been what you expected as the head coach of the Cowboys?
Yeah, it's been fun. I don't think, I don't sit around a lot and reminisce and think about what it's been like. I really don't have the time to do that.
That man ain't thinking about that
I think
yet.
that as I look back on it, I'm always trying to improve. And so I think, now that we're back, I'll do probably later this week, I'll do an after-action report on training camp, and I'll be very critical of myself, things that I need to do better. I'm going to always be my own worst critic because I think that's important. And if you can't do that as a leader, then how do you expect your players to do that? But, if there was one thing I would say that, when you sit in this chair, the humility that you need to have, knowing that the privilege of being in this position, it's not that I'm just the head coach of the Cowboys, but to have the chance to look over these incredible 91 young men and their families and things like that, I don't take that lightly at all. And so very honored to be in this position. And like I said, I don't shy away from the expectations. I've stood up here from the very beginning and talked about wanting to win Super Bowls, expecting to win Super Bowls, and we're getting closer to playing real games that it actually affects your ability to go and do that.
Yeah.
Nick.
With Joe Milton, there's been a couple times where touch has been a little bit off. How do you dock for touch?
There's a way you do it with your release, the way you kind of just you change the release and the tempo of the grip and things like that. We went back and looked at some of the throws from practice, like the one that he threw to Hunter that was literally a laser beam. That was tight coverage. So like in reality, he probably had to throw that one with that much. But there's a way you kind of release the ball and the way it comes off your hand, and you almost pull it back a little bit. It's more of a flick than a drive, and he certainly can do that. Looking back at the film, some of his missed throws were a little bit more. His footwork got a little sloppy, and so we're on him about that. Like, hey, let's make sure. I'm a big ground up guy, and everything that you do fundamentally it starts from the ground up, whether you're playing linebacker, corner, receiver, quarterback. And there were a few times where his footwork was off a little bit, and he was a little bit ahead of the route, Nick. So he was kind of waiting, and then he felt late, and so then he wanted to drive it in there.
So you would say it's less about arm mechanics, more about footwork stuff with him?
I believe so.
Pre-game, is there anything you can do with him to make it easier transition to start a game? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, I talked to all the guys about, now's this time where you have to not only figure out your routine, but perfect your routine, right? Like, you got to figure it out. Like, hey, I like going out early and throwing. Nah, I don't want to go out and early throw. Hey, I go out and throw, but I only want to throw these 10 routes, or I only want to throw to this guy, or hey, I want to go out and just listen to music or whatever it is. And so I'm on all the guys about just figuring that out, because you only got a couple more opportunities. You got this weekend, and it's not just the routine of game day, it's before the game, it's after the game. How do you watch the film? What do you do? How do you unwind? How do you figure all that out? And so again, that's really more for him to figure out what he likes and what he doesn't. And I think that's any young player should be figuring that out. Like Dak tweaks things, he's going to do things different maybe than he's done it in the past.
On the backup quarterback stuff, and I realize it's hard to have answers to everything, but Dak's been a guy who's missed games for the last 5 years with injuries. He's 32 years old. How much of a risk is it going with two either inexperienced or young quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, there's a youthfulness to our roster. That's part of the deal. I think we evaluate all those things, and we'll make those decisions at the appropriate time, Todd. And again, right now, my main focus is, let's get these guys ready to play, and let's figure out some of these decisions. But
how the hell you gonna ask him about looking towards replacing Dak already, bro? The season's about to start. What the hell kind of question was that, Todd?
Again, I don't have to make those decisions. We don't have to make those decisions right now, and we're still in the information gathering process. And again, we'll sit down after we play Friday, and we'll make some decisions about the entire roster, and we'll see where they lead. And that's not just the backup quarterback. That's all positions. That's all position battles. And there'll probably be some surprises from some of the mock things that are out there in terms of, hey, I thought for sure this guy was going to make it, and you guys should probably have betting odds and stuff on that. I don't know if I can say betting odds, but because there's always going to be a few surprises when you look at any team's roster in the National Football League when you get down to cut down day.
All righty. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Ooh, Schotty just promised some surprises right at the end of that joint. He just let us know there's probably going to be some surprises on this joint. Interesting. Okay. Let me know what y'all think about that interview down in the comments below. I will catch y'all on the next one, bruh. And how about them cows?
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.